Yo, guys, I hope you're well. So, guys, Keir Starmer has come out and admitted that Axel Rudakubana, the Southport murderer of the three young girls, was and had been on the radar. So, guys, I wanted to cover Keir Starmer's speech, but it's about 30 minutes long. So let me know in the comment section if you want me to cover that. But instead of that, I've dug out a question from, I think it's Beth Rigby at Sky News, who asked Keir Starmer straight after he finished his speech, where he has admitted that the government or sources were close to the government knew all about Axel Rudakubana. Anyway, guys, I just want to have a look at this. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't actually seen Keir Starmer's full speech, but I've already commented on Keir Starmer this morning. But what I'll do as well is I will put the full speech from Keir Starmer down here, a link to it in the comments section, or in the description rather, so that you guys can see it. Okay, let's see what Beth Rigby asks Keir Starmer, and let's see his response.
Beth Rigby, Sky News.
Beth Rigby, Sky News, thank you. Prime Minister, it now emerges the perpetrator was known to the authorities and had been referred to prevent the anti-terrorism programme 3 times. He'd had contact with the police, the courts, the justice, the youth system and mental health services. It's a catastrophic failure.
Catastrophic failure. So Axel Rudakubana had contact with the police, the courts, mental health, all sorts of services in the run-up to him murdering those 3 young girls at Southport on July 29th and injuring countless others. So it's not like he hadn't come up on the radar. He had been on several parts of the radar. What has happened? What has gone wrong? Really?
Of the state to protect those young girls. Do you acknowledge that if that information had come out when the riots were happening, it would have provoked further outrage by the public, so you withheld information? Is that true? And do you acknowledge that whatever happens now, whatever public inquiry you carry out, this will hugely undermine trust from the public in the authorities and your government?
Right, I'm going to play that again. So at first, I thought what Beth Rigby was saying was that if the public had known what was going on, they would have gone even crazier and been more outraged. But I don't know. I think what should have happened, and if this guy had any brains in his head, what should have happened is they should have said, this is a terrorist incident, or this is a serious incident. We can't tell you more, but please be appraised of the situation which is in hand, and we will tell you as soon as we can. But what they did was to have an absolute vacuum of information so that we ourselves started to fill in the blanks because we were not told. And I'm certain in other countries, and I'm sure in America and other countries, they try to fill that vacuum of information as quickly as possible to let the public know what the situation is, if the situation is at hand, and what they're doing about it. They don't allow these situations to get out of hand like this government has done at the end of July, beginning of August. They allowed the riots to happen.
Were happening, it would have provoked further outrage by the public, so you withheld information. Is that true? And do you acknowledge that whatever happens now, whatever public inquiry you carry out, this will hugely undermine trust from the public in the authorities and your government?
So there is no or very little trust in Keir Starmer's government and in the authorities. But it's also a case of bolting the door after the horses have bolted. Really? Really? These inquiries, they're really just a face-saving exercise. They never get to the crux of the issue. They never get to the point in question. They're there to cover their own behinds to make certain that they themselves do not become implicated. But what the inquiry should do, or what future inquiries should do, all inquiries, and we're talking about the child grooming inquiries as well, they need to go back and join the dots. History is about looking back at the past to see what can correlate to the future. And what I see is that there are so many dots that link up with each other. If only these people could link up and join up the dots, we would see the bigger picture, because there's always a bigger picture. So I said this yesterday, I said this before. Axel Rudakubana was known to the authorities. He had to be known to the authorities, because in 90% of these cases, they are known to the authorities. What on earth is going on? The authorities know. They have come on the radar. They have come on the peripheral of all these authorities, whether it's Prevent, whether it's MI5, MI6, whether it's GCHQ, whatever it is, whether it's the child stuff, blah, blah, blah. They are always there. They are on the radar. They are on the radar. They are on the radar. They don't just materialize from nowhere. They really don't.
Whatever happens now, whatever public inquiry you carry out, this will hugely undermine trust from the public in the authorities and your government. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Let me be clear. Responsibility for the disorder and the violence lies with those that perpetrated it.
Yep, I'm not going to disagree with that. If you do something which is violent, then you answer for your own actions. But again, you answer for your own actions. So what were the actions of the government, or their inactions? Action and inaction can both cause terrible consequences. You can act on something, and in some cases, people protested, and I think they have the right to protest. In other cases, people rioted. No, under law, you don't have the right to riot. But then again, there are consequences of inaction. Inaction from this government caused, in my opinion, a lot of these riots and the rioters to do what they did, because there was a vacuum of information. The information was filled in from other sources, and there was anger, and there is still anger to this day. This person here and this government withheld information. They knew about Axel Rudakubana. They said that he'd had 3 contacts with Protect. And I'm hearing other stories as well, not just those 3 contacts with Protect. I was hearing that there was cases of other issues and incidences of violence, this, that, and everything else. So it's not like these were basically an isolated incident. They were plural, not singular, but plural. This man needs to answer the case and answer the question.
The authorities and your government. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Let me be clear. Responsibility for the disorder and the violence lies with those that perpetrated it. And we need to be really clear about that. But let me address the facts as you put them to me. There has been a failure here, and I don't intend to let any institution of the state deflect from their failures.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Because this situation is a similar one, exactly the same as the grooming gangs. There are certain parts of the establishment, parts of the institutions who are being deliberately covered with a protect. They're not being allowed to be investigated, and I don't know the reason why.
And I acknowledge that readily here. Yes, I knew the details as they were emerging.
Yes, he knew the details as they were emerging. That is very significant. Starmer knew what was happening, so he could have helped and eased the situation. You don't have to say everything that you know, but you do have a responsibility to say enough. I know what he's going to say. He's going to say because of prejudicing a future court case, this, that, and everything else, blah, blah, blah. But he knew enough to tell the public that the situation was in hand, and could have said it was a major incident, a terrorist incident, or whatever. But he could have said just enough to sage and to satisfy the public that this was in hand and being taken care of. Because what he didn't say, and by his non-verbal communications and by his non-action, What he didn't say was enough to cause the riots.
That is the usual practice in a case such as this. But you know and I know that it would not have been right to disclose those details. The only losers, if the details had been disclosed, would be the victims and the families, because it ran the risk the trial would collapse.
I disagree. Again, you do not have to say verbatim what the issue is or was, but you have to tell the public enough to calm them, to ease the situation. So you could have said, yes, this person was a person of interest. Yes, we have this person in custody. But you don't have to say that, etc., bits which could prejudice a court case. But you could have said, yes, this person is a person of interest. We've had this person on our radar. No, this person isn't an asylum seeker. No, this person isn't a refugee. But yes, this person was a person of interest. That's all you had to say. And that would have assuaged the population, assuaged the rioters, assuaged the protesters. You have to be able to be honest with the population without prejudicing the case. But in your case, by saying nothing, you fan the flames. You fan those flames.
I'm never going to do that. Never going to do that, because they deserve that justice.
So he says that the families deserve the justice. Yes, the families deserve the justice. But by not telling the public what was going on, you caused a lot more anger, a lot more frustration, a lot more destruction in the whole of our society. You've destroyed our society. You have destroyed it, and probably deliberately.
And only by having the rules in place can that justice be delivered, as a measure of it now has.
And when he says justice, justice must be for all. You cannot select in your two-tier society who gets justice and who doesn't. Justice should be for all. It should see no colour, no sex, no creed, no age, nothing, no barriers. Justice has to be for all.
And I wouldn't be forgiven if I had. Those are not just my choices, though it is a choice I would make. It is also the law of the land. That is why I couldn't disclose the details. It's why others couldn't disclose the details. It's why all of you as journalists couldn't disclose the details, because the same laws applied to you just as they applied to me.
Well, what I'm hearing from the journalists is that they weren't told anything. They were as much in the dark as we were. I don't know if that's true or false, but I'm hearing that. So MSM, the mainstream media, was saying they were as much in the dark as the rest of our country.
And it's really important that we make that clear. But the purpose of the rule is to protect the justice that the families and the victims are entitled to. I think that's the right thing. It is now right, having got to this stage, that the questions are asked and the answers are given, which is why we've taken the course of an inquiry, but also why between now and the conclusion of the inquiry, we will happily answer any questions that are put to us. But that is why, notwithstanding that, yes, I was being kept updated, of course, I did not disclose anything that would collapse the trial and defeat justice in this case. And I don't think anybody could ever have looked the victims and their families in the eye if they'd ever done that. Thank you, Beth.
So this guy's looking with his CPS hat on, this, that, and everything else. He doesn't realise he caused more harm, more damage by his inaction than any actions he did. And the actions he took were disgraceful anyway. But there you go. So let me know down here in the comment section, what do you think of Keir Starmer's answer to Beth Rigby's question about the public having little to no trust in the Prime Minister and his government, and in what actions or inactions he took over the incidents at Southport, and also his admission that he knew precisely what was happening and what had happened at Southport, but chose not to disclose what he knew. Anyway, let me know down here in the comment section. Make certain, guys, you look after yourselves, you look after each other, And guys, if you've already subscribed to my channel here at Tornick TV, thank you so much. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel here at Tornick TV. And please come here for your next and your most up-to-date reactions to the news. Guys, look after yourselves, look after each other, and I'll see you at the next one.